Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 18th, and today we're taking a look at this system approaching the Pacific Northwest. Here you can see this frontal system developing as it approaches the coastline. And on the infrared satellite imagery here, you can see this really cold air spilling all the way out over the Pacific Ocean. This cold air is going to override the area tomorrow, and it's going to bring thunderstorm potential with it, possibly a strong Puget Sound convergence zone, some interesting features associated with that. We'll look into that in some detail coming up here. And we'll take a look at the rest of the country as well, and we'll look off into the extended, a couple more systems moving our way, and then maybe a warm day or two on into next week before some Gulf of Alaska troughing returns in the extended. Here's visible satellite imagery. Here you can see the clouds overriding the area now. Any sun breaks that you see in the western portions of the Oregon and Washington are quickly going to go away today as the high clouds approach. Still some sunshine out there for eastern Oregon and Washington. You can see we might get some wave action clouds here over the eastern slopes of the Cascades as well. So looking around the rest of the country, relatively quiet. Still some winter weather concerns across central portions. Had fire danger through Texas, as there's a severe weather threat also here through the southeast and the Florida Panhandle. We'll look at that briefly here in a moment. Look at this. There's this for today. This is a significant tornado threat down here in the southeast, including the Florida Panhandle. See if you have concerns out there. It is that time of year. Severe weather season is ramping up considerably. And going on into tomorrow, that severe threat extends towards New York, Pennsylvania, and the East Coast. They're probably going to extend this general thunderstorm threat on into Washington and portions of northern Oregon. I would assume tomorrow there is definitely a thunderstorm threat for tomorrow. Taking a look at day 4, Monday, you can see that severe threat there through eastern Texas. A pretty dynamic system is going to be moving into west and central Texas, bringing in some really deep moisture up in front of it. So there's potential for some significant severe with this. And looking into day 5, you can see that push off to the east a bit to Mississippi and Louisiana. Day 6, Florida Panhandle in the southeast. So heads up if you have concerns anywhere from Texas along the Gulf Coast states on into next week. Severe weather season is upon us here. So here we're back to the Pacific Northwest. Surface winds in the NAM 3cam high resolution model. You see the southerlies going through the Puget Sound. And as we go into Saturday morning, that westerly surge starts to move down the Strait of Juan de Fuca in the post-frontal environment. And we start to get that convergence zone signature across the central sound there. That's what we'll be looking for, a lightning strike or two in that area. Although any place in Washington or North Oregon, it does have lightning potential tomorrow. You can see some of these gusty westerly winds go through eastern Washington and Oregon there too. So heads up for that tomorrow as well. Now taking a look at the 5,000 foot winds, I wanted to show you this frontal system moving through here. You can see the stronger winds move through the area out of the south-southwest, and check out this wind shift behind it as that classic Puget Sound convergence zone sets up there late morning on into Saturday afternoon. So here we're taking a look at the temperatures at 18,000 feet. It's always pretty chilly up there, but you'll see it become increasingly so here as we move into the day Saturday. You can see that lobe of cold air move over the region. That's what's bringing us our thunderstorm chances here. We'll also take a look here at 10,000 feet. It shows up pretty well here too. As you can see, we really get very cold over western Washington here on into Saturday evening. You can see that cold air just really overtake the region. It can bring some nice mountain snowfalls. We'll look at some of those totals here in a minute across the area as you see that lobe of cold air start to move out going on into early next week. Now here's the surface map too. You'll notice this doesn't show up as well. Here comes that cold air, but it's not as drastic. That's because the ocean is modifying this mass, this air mass that moves across it into western Washington and Oregon there. You can see it start to cool down there, and you'll see that little bit of a cold air signature there across the central sound. That's that convergence zone tapping some colder air aloft and bringing that down to the surface there tomorrow. And as we keep going here, you'll notice this cold air overtake the region here as we go on into Sunday morning. So some pretty good snowfall amounts, really anywhere above 1,500 feet in a lot of these areas, especially the mountainous terrain where it's ringing out some of that precipitation. Now looking at instability for Saturday, you can see it flood into the region here. So there is some potential for eastern Washington. You'll notice that kind of sets up on the southern side of the convergence zone here. So there is thunderstorm potential for mainly western Washington, and I wouldn't rule out a lightning strike down towards Portland or even Eugene, Salem down there tomorrow. This is a composite reflectivity, what it may look like as we go through the day. Here's that tonight into tomorrow morning, sorry. And then we look at this frontal system move through the area early Saturday morning. That convergence zone signature is there on into the early afternoon, and you can see some heavier showers out there through eastern Oregon and Washington as well. as well as some showers moving through down here towards Portland and Toledo. So this is the European. This is the most recent run here showing lightning flash density. And as we put this into motion here, we're going out into Saturday morning. You know, just nothing yet. But as we get into about late Saturday morning, you'll see some of this lightning potential showing up around the Puget Sound here, even down towards Portland, Willamette Valley as well. Eastern Washington, not out of the woods there. And check this out, across that convergence zone just south SeaTac, you know, Des Moines area, there is lightning potential, and then it backs up towards, you know, the Kitsap Peninsula there as well. And you can see Eastern Washington on into Saturday afternoon. So there's definite thunderstorm potential going on into a Saturday for a lot of the region here. Now let's look into snowfall amounts. As we look at this, you can see as we go into Saturday, look at these totals build through the Cascades of Oregon and Washington, the Rockies, Bitterroots of Idaho, the Rockies of British Columbia here, all the way down into Nevada. Sierra Nevada gets a little bit of snow out of this too as this moves off into portions of Montana and Wyoming. But we'll take all the snow we can get. It helps with those drought concerns. Not much precip for Eastern Washington here though, but some snowfall amounts for Northeast Oregon there too. You know who you are out there, so heads up for the system. And avalanche forecast, you can say they brought it down to moderate for the Snoqualmie area, but still check this out if you guys are going in the backcountry. The Olympic Mountains are under a moderate avalanche danger as well. Mount Hood and Stevens is under moderate as well. But there is considerable avalanche danger across a lot of the west slopes of the Cascades now. Northwest Avalanche Center, great site. So here we're looking at yesterday's European run here, and we're going to take a look at the extended a bit. This is Friday morning's frontal system, cold air behind that. Then another system on its heels comes in Monday, fairly rainy Washington north. Then another system clips the area here Wednesday night. Doesn't allow that ridge to build too much on this run from yesterday. So we'll have to watch this because it showed a couple warm days coming up here, but now these systems look to continue kind of coming through next week. So we're still unsettled going on in through next week. You can see the Gulf of Alaska troughing, returning. They extended some deep lows out there with potential for some development on the southern periphery of that. And it looks like an atmospheric river signal here as we go on into next week. But we're getting out in fantasy land here a bit. But there would be windstorm or atmospheric river potential with Gulf of Alaska troughing as such. Now checking out here is the GFS similar map. This is from this morning. You see Friday's frontal system and cooler air behind that. Good model agreement as always in the short term. Then a system moving through on Monday. Not overly wet on the GFS, not quite as much as the European here, mostly hitting Vancouver Island, but it would keep us pretty cloudy and cool. And we go into next week. GFS is a little bit drier here. Doesn't bring that system through Wednesday quite as much, but it gets BC there in Vancouver Island. And then in the extended, you'll notice it keeps bringing these systems back here, a deep low just off the coast there. And this is far out as the 12Z GFS goes currently. But you can see that ridge does not build as well as it had been showing yesterday. So checking out the GFS, the heights at 18,000 feet. This is this morning's run. There goes the frontal system. Then that ridge tries to build, but you'll notice it's pretty progressive. And there comes that weak system Wednesday that kind of flattens that ridge out pretty quickly. And then the troughing redevelops quite dramatically here off the west coast. So that ridge looked like it was going to hang around a little bit longer here yesterday, but it's already getting broken down pretty quickly. But it might still give us a nice day here on Tuesday. And Monday will probably be a pretty chilly day as this system is still getting out of here and we're still under the effects of that last system. Ridge builds for Tuesday according to the GFS, and a weak system goes into Vancouver Island, BC on Wednesday afternoon. So it kind of kicks that ridge out of here pretty quick, and then troughing returns by the end of next week, which models look like they're in pretty good agreement on. Here's the European of last night's too, so I'm just kind of showing you the ridges here. It builds that ridge there, so maybe a nice day Tuesday, but right now that's looking like the only thing that's a high probability is that ridge gets kicked out pretty quickly and the system returns quickly on Wednesday night. And then the European, like the GFS, shows some pretty good troughing out here on into the extended across the Gulf of Alaska. So it would keep our active weather going through the end of March here on into early April. We'll see how that develops. And this is surface pressure map here. This is the most recent European runs. Let's go through this. Here goes the frontal system, and then that ridge builds a bit. Might give us that nice day Tuesday. So we might get that nice day Tuesday, but you see that system kind of clip through the area Wednesday. This would cool us down quite a bit. It'd be a lot of clouds and rainfall through Washington with that. So yeah, we might get one nice day out of it. I was hoping for two, but it doesn't look like it may happen. You can see that Wednesday we might get that high earlier in the day as the clouds approach during the day and come through in the evening. So we'll see how that works out. But you can see that colder air as it moves through the area and keeps us pretty chilly through Monday. And then you can see it, we cool back down again there through the Gulf of Alaska trough and returning later next week. And checking for windstorm potential out in the distant future, don't really see it. You see a couple of them out there, but that's pretty standard how these things look. You see that brief area of a lull there through Tuesday and Wednesday, but no big windstorms in the immediate future. But with that Gulf of Alaska troughing coming up in the future, it's something we got to watch for. And here's this precipitation values that comes through on Saturday, and then that next system coming through Monday night to Tuesday morning. Then that maybe that lull there before the last Gulf of Alaska troughing returns in the extended. So we'll see how that works out. We've got a few days to look at that, and I was hoping for a couple nice days out of there, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Here was the national blend of models here that just show two fairly warm days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So yeah, we'll take a look at that in more detail tomorrow and see what the models come up with. They've been flip-flopping on the strength of this ridge for some time now. Here's a monthly temperature outlook here. This was issued yesterday. This is for April. You can see below average for most of Washington and equal chances elsewhere through Oregon, Idaho, and Montana here. But our La Nina winter continues. Check out precipitation outlook here for April, issued yesterday. Most of western Washington above normal. Hopefully we can get some of this precipitation down to the eastern slopes of the Cascades for Oregon. And this is seasonal temperature outlook. This was issued yesterday, April, May, and June. Square into the below chances here for western Washington, but doesn't really have a signal for precip either way, although there is a pretty good below average signal, as you can see, through the west all the way down through Texas. But yeah, so we've got the frontal system moving through tonight. You can see this cold air. It's going to move over our area tomorrow with thunderstorm potential across much of the Pacific Northwest, mainly North Oregon in through Washington. Watch out that convergence zone tomorrow. Get your cameras out and see if you can find a rotating storm out there. Maybe catch a lightning strike on camera. And then we'll check out to see what the strength of that ridge is going to build back in through next week. Will it just be a one-day thing? Will it give us 2 nice days before systems start to break down that ridge and the Gulf of Alaska troughing reestablishes itself in through later next week and next weekend? So a lot to watch coming up here. The active spring continues, and we'll see how this goes on into the end of March into April. And hope you guys are having a good day. Leave any comments in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later.